You've got to choose to try things even though it's hard. I have a saying, which is, I can't, therefore I must. And if there's such a desire that you cannot, my mornings are not dissimilar to yours, where I'm lying in bed, I'm thinking about food though, mind you, because I eat a lot. But nobody dreams of an average life. Like, that's not in your dream. You're dreaming about all of these things. So why stop at average? I feel like, yeah, it's going to feel awkward the first time you do it. Like the first time you tried walking, that sucked too. You were a toddler going through that stage, but you kept going, you persisted because you didn't have those lenses of bias that you have. Oh, what if people are looking at me? Oh, judgment, blah, blah, blah. Hard work, uncertainty, pain. There is an element of pain, there's an element of hard work, and there's an element of uncertainty. What if? Do the thing anyway.
It's hard these days to find the doctors that don't just want to give you a prescription from the chemist, right?
Yep.
And I was seeing a guy years ago, and just before COVID actually, and then I got a message. I'd been seeing him for about 6 months because I was going through, fatigue, burnout, anxiety, depression, all those things. And I just got this email one day that said, "Oh, look, my medical license has been suspended because
wow.
because someone had come back to him and said, oh, you said I had this and that." And it really kind of was a fallout from that. But
it's fickle, isn't it?
For me, when I started hitting not feeling great and I didn't want to go onto medication, I wanted to kind of go, hang on, this body that we've got should be able to fix itself, right?
100%, because it can. It's been doing it this whole time since humans have walked the earth.
Yep. And none of us are going to get out of here alive, right? We're all going to die at some point. We don't know when, right?
Yeah.
But, if it's our time to go, when it is our time to go, well, that's it. We're done, right? And that's what the universe has got in for us. But I sat there and, I do take antidepressants now that help me. But I take some supplements. I worked with a naturopath. So I kind of went through this and I've kind of balanced it. Because when you go through insurance and all those kind of things, stepping out of real estate into kind of not being able to do it anymore, I was like, they're like, basically, but you're not on any kind of, medication. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm really focusing on massage. I'm focusing on exercise. I'm focusing on all these things. And, kind of at one point my doctor said to me, maybe you just need to get on antidepressants to shut them up a little bit, right? Because they were like, well, hang on, what, you're not doing anything here. And I'm like, yes, I am. I'm massage, chiro, emotional neurotechnique, all these different kind of health providers. But they didn't want to know. They were like,
they don't recognize it. There's the mainstream medical system. Unfortunately, your prescription becomes a subscription.
Yep.
A subscription to a service that's perpetually broken.
Yep.
And it's hard because you're kind of challenged when you have ongoing symptoms and you're trying all of these other peripheral things, yet the medical system don't recognize it. I actually have words like non-compliant patient written across my medical files. My medical files are huge. There's volumes of them apparently. I was in hospital and I saw when it was this big and I said, oh, this is really big. He's like, oh, that's just the first part. I'm like, oh my God, that's just the latest part. But it's, what do you do in those moments? I think a lot of us are so misguided because we are kind of we're forced to be put in boxes with things. And it's proof and testament to what you've just said, Steve, that, you've got to take a really integrated and complementary approach. So I'm on medication. I stopped my antidepressants and my ADHD medication a while ago. When Brian died, I did take Valium for a while and it helped me to sleep. But I was on lots of medication for my ulcerative colitis. I actually had someone else's gut flora put in my gut last year, very radical $20,000 surgery, getting not someone else's poop put in my gut pretty much to help manage my ulcerative colitis. And I've managed to get off nearly all of that medication at the moment. But it's the same thing. They're like, well, if you're not on that, then what are you taking? And it's almost like I'm appeasing the system. The system. Otherwise, you get no rebates of anything. And then they don't recognize you of having any sort of condition or label. Bloody hard, man.
Yep. And I find I haven't got the long list that you have, but, going through the different things, that I was diagnosed with, I was like, it's hard to kind of, you go through that identity, right? Because it's like that label, like you've got chronic fatigue, which I've been diagnosed with, and then it's like you sit there and you kind of go, I don't really know oh, hang on, I'm looking at people that have got chronic fatigue and they're just sitting on a couch and they can't move and they can't work. And
Yeah.
I'm sitting there going, how can is this life? But then, you know, I do more research and I go, okay, cool. Well, actually, one of the best things for chronic fatigue is exercise.
Yep. 100%.
So I really kind of, for me, I just keep growing and growing and keep researching and thinking. I'm like, probably from my rock bottom, I think I'm probably, I reckon 80% back to 100%. And 12 months ago, I was probably 75%, right? So I am just continuing, but a lot of it is stopping the noise that's in the brain, right?
Yes. Yes.
Because the noise, like I say to people from a depression perspective, you know, and I'm a mental health first aid instructor. I was taking a course and I said to this lady, or I said in the course, I said, oh, you know, depression for me, this is how I, you know, kind of explain it, is in the morning, you wake up, you don't want to get out of bed, right? You don't want to go to the gym. You don't want to have a shower. You don't want to get ready. You don't want to eat food. You don't want to exercise. You don't want to do all these things, right? But all those things are the things that will actually make you feel better, right? And she just went, how, I've got to stop you. And I said, what? And she's like, I have been to doctors, psychiatrists, psychologists. She said, I have never had someone put it like that. She said, so what you're saying is I need to focus on how I feel after those things. And I'm like, yes, because if you let your brain go, I don't feel like getting up. Okay. No, I'm not going to have a shower. I'm not going to get ready. If you go and do all those things, and that's for me now, sometimes in the morning, if I wake up and I don't do my cycle class, or I don't go for a walk, or if I don't exercise, if I don't have a shave and a shower and get ready for the day, because for me, coming out of real estate was shave, shower every day, right? And then if you're going out for something at night, sometimes you'd shave again, you know? And for me, who has shaved since I'm about 12, but you do all these things, and then it was kind of like, oh, I don't have to shave, you know? And I used to just wear sports clothes a lot. And my wife would say to me, Steve, you know, like we need to, you know, you just got sports clothes on, because I was just always doing stuff. And, you know, I became obviously more of a stay-at-home dad. And now I wear a lot more clothes and everything, which is great. Obviously, I had gastric sleeve in 2020, which was one of my things, which I was like, I've got to work out is some of my mental health and some of my confidence and some of my fatigue issues, how much of that is linked to being 60 kilos overweight. So I lost almost 60 kilos. I've put a little bit back on, but I'm the fittest I have been in my life today, because I've worked out that the consistency is key, right? So
Yeah.
I started cycling probably 14, 15 months ago. And I remember getting into the first class, I went and sat in the back corner, the darkest corner. You know what I mean, right? You've been
Yeah.
into a
That was
cycle
me.
class.
That was me in the gym on the treadmill, backest up,
Yep. Yep.
furthest back, darkest corner.
And then I slowly moved into the middle at the back. And then it was probably, I don't know, things happened, you know, mid to late last year that I kind of went, do you know what? Nah. And I went and sat in the front row at the middle. And one of the instructors, who I know quite well, she walked in, she's like, you're in the front row, you know? And I just kind of went, yes, that made me uncomfortable. But as soon as I'd done it, now most of the time I'm in the front row.
Yeah, of
Right?
course.
Like,
Yeah.
and it's just about putting yourself out there. It's about, you know, pushing through that discomfort. And I just love it now. But it's not just the exercise, it's the vibe, it's the people, it's the instructors. It's kind of, you know, the vibe of your tribe, right?
Yeah.
You find your tribe, find the tribe that kind of, it's the environment. You know, you would have an environment
100%.
that
Yeah.
you are attracted to and that kind of fills your cup. And then there's environments that we all have that don't fill our cup, that drain our cup.
And I think you've got to choose to try things even though it's hard. I have a saying, which is, I can't, therefore I must. And if there's such a desire that you cannot, you know, my mornings are not dissimilar to yours, where I'm lying in bed, I'm like, oh. I mean, I'm thinking about food though, mind you, because I eat a lot. But it's, oh my gosh, you know, nobody dreams of average. Nobody dreams of an average life. Like, that's not in your dream. You're dreaming about all of these things. So why stop at average? I feel like, yeah, it's going to feel awkward the first time you do it. Like the first time you tried walking, that sucked too. You were a toddler going through that stage, but you kept going, you persisted because you didn't have those lenses of bias that you have. Oh, what if people are looking at me? Oh, judgment, blah, blah, blah. Hard work, uncertainty, pain. There is an element of pain, there's an element of hard work, and there's an element of uncertainty. What if? Do the thing anyway. Go to the front row, wear the tutu, have the pink car, the pink top, like whatever the thing is, get the surgery. I've had surgery too, different surgery to you, but I bought boobs. I had a nose job. You know, I couldn't grow those in the gym. In fact, in a gym, you lose this.
Yep.
And I had no surgery to help me breathe, but also while they were there, while we're there, and I'm like, sure. I have a lot of clients that have had, weight loss surgery of some form, or people that are contemplating it. And, as a health expert, I'm always like, yeah, do the thing, that if it's going to, let's try some other things. The biggest danger for that is that when you don't support that with the education, and I've seen time and time again, doesn't matter what kind of surgery it is, if it's weight loss surgery or elective surgery of any sort of capacity, do the research and understand where the piper has to get paid. Because with anything that's going to change, any changes that you make to your life, whether it is a habit level or a physiological level, the piper will get paid somewhere. For some people, it's that I can't eat as much. For some people, it's that I have absorption issues. For some people, it's like, actually, I should probably not blend ice cream and just scull it. I think that the piper has to get paid in a way that can be positive, though, which is, I'm going to make a choice to do this very consciously. I want to do this because I know it's going to be good for myself, my health, and my confidence. But I'm also going to support that by choosing to educate myself on how can I live a more sustainable and active life so I don't go back to where I was. And what you've just explained is a testament to that, because you can choose to be more active. You can choose to educate yourself nutritionally. And I mean, I look at where I was. It's funny because with my tumor that I have, or the 2 tumors, I've gained 8 kilos. A lot of that's been muscle because I've been training really hard, but I've gained a lot of body fat. I've gone from an extra small to a medium, which for me is scary because I reflect on what I used to look like when I gained all that weight. I'm actually exactly the same weight. So there's this mental trigger because I look at the scales and I see this weight, and there's an association between where I am now and where I was. And it is really hard. There is body dysmorphia at play because I look at myself and I completely look different because my body composition is different. I have a lot more muscle, a lot less fat. But the same thing goes for people that have weight loss surgery or forms of surgery. There's an association there between the old you and the new you, but it's the same you.
Yep.
Right? You've just learned to hone it.
Yeah. And when I'd lost the, 50, 60 kilos, I think it was about 60 kilos at my most. And I was like, I'd look at myself in the mirror and I wouldn't really, it took a while before I actually saw someone that was different in the mirror.
Yeah.
And even when people would be like, oh, Steve, you look great, you look fantastic, all those kind of things. And I don't really focus on the scales anymore because the scales don't tell you. I know that I am a lot more toned now from cycle, and how I feel is more important. It's like,
yes,
jumping on a scale and seeing, oh, you feel fantastic today. Great. That's what I want, right? Yeah. I don't want to, because sometimes you can feel great. And I know in the past when I've been on this weight loss journey is that you'd jump on the scales, you'd had a really good week, you'd eaten really good, and the scales wouldn't represent it. And it was like the scales saying to you, you've done shit. This is crap.
Yep.
You should
100%.
really feel bad about yourself because all the good stuff that you've done, all the good stuff that you've eaten, all the stuff you've done, all the exercise, you're feeling great, but actually it's all shit.
Yeah. And it's this mental game that we play, right? And as a coach, it's been really interesting going back to using objective and subjective data with myself and every single client that I have. A lot of my clients use these rings. We use other tracking devices for biometric
I've got a
information.
Whoop band.
A Whoop is great. And I always do body composition scans. If we have access to a body composition scan, then we always do that because that actually starts to educate that person on, okay, well, that weight on the scale, if I become welded to that weight having to be a certain number, I'm disregarding my body composition because what that weight represents is actually an accumulation of the water that's in your body, the weight of your skeleton, the weight of your fat, and the weight of your muscle. And so disproportionately, if as a great coach, because I am one, I can help somebody, manage their water storage, because some people hold a lot of water, especially if
Yep.
their eating is dysregulated. So I help people lose a lot of that extra water weight, but also gain muscle through nutrition interventions, lifting heavy weights if we can, and losing body fat. It's very hard to gain muscle and lose body fat. All of my clients do because I know how to do it. But this is where that mental game, we have to unfix those patterns, because people will see the scale like it barely changes. But what we can see is that, okay, you may only have lost 0.3 kilos this week, 300 grams. What actually happened is you lost an accumulative amount of all of this body fat and then gained a little bit of muscle.
Yep.
And when people lose weight, they don't realize that normally without putting nutritional interventions in place and lifting correctly and doing the right kind of exercise, for every kilo of weight that is lost, about 700 grams of that is normally fat and about 300 grams of that is normally muscle. And we don't want to be losing muscle as we get older, because muscle will dictate the longevity. And, as I said, we're not going to out of this alive, but, we want to live good, healthy, stable lives. And we want our lifespan and our health span to match. We don't want this long lifespan and then a shorter health span, and the last 10, 20, 30 years is shithouse because we don't have quality of life. But it's never too late to start making changes. I work with a lot of people who are a little bit older. They're at a change of life where the kids have left home. They're starting to find who they are and reaffirm their identity. And a lot of people come to me, wanting these amazing goals. And it's pretty cool to be able to work with people like that, because they get to see and feel those results. But it is really important to go, okay, well, I feel great, but where's some objective data? And the more points of measure that we can use, whether it's a scale weight, girth measurements, body composition measurements, how regularly they go into the toilet, are their clothes fitting differently? Is their skin getting better? There's all of these little tiny subtle things. But when we accumulatively stack them, that is how they see the tangible results of change, because that is what gives people momentum, which is the first M in my hierarchy, to continue that path forward. Because it can be very disheartening if you're on a journey and then, you can't feel any changes. And so, most people give up. We've got to push past that initial period. The 17th to 21st day of any habit change is pretty much where people stop, between day 17 and 21. So they say it takes 66 days to form a habit. I mean, who knows if that's even true? Who's even counting? I do everything in monthly blocks with people. We do a big 12-week mesocycle for change, and then we chunk that down to 4-week cycles. So there's 3 blocks of 4 weeks, making up that 12 weeks. And each week within that 4-week block, everything is programmed. And it's just having a plan, right? I mean, IT brain, if this happens, then this happens. It's just basic logic. So if people have a great plan, it's really easy to get unstuck. In fact, it's actually really easy to go from stuck to unstoppable. But you first of all got to work out how to get unstuck, like you did. You're getting unstuck. It's like, I'm doing this thing. And then plan around that. Have those non-negotiables. You can live an extraordinary life. Life is way too short to be average. So do the thing. Take care of yourself on a daily level. And if you can't, you must.
Yeah, I love that. Loz, obviously we're always learning and growing. What's one thing you're yet to fully learn about yourself?
That's a really good question. I think my capacity to understand what opportunities exist beyond the scope of my imagination, that is something that I'm constantly playing around with. I understand that to be true. My human design is a manifester. So I constantly will think about something and then it will happen. I actually have I had a goal last year to be on stage as a singer in a band. It didn't happen last year. And then 2 weeks ago, my husband's joined a big band and they needed a backup singer for their big show this weekend. And guess who got asked to do the gig? So
Awesome.
I think realizing that anything is possible, that would be a reframe of what your question was, because it constantly is a reminder that, wow, like where focus goes, energy flows. And if you just put an idea out into the ether, out into the quantum field, somewhere that will pop up for you if you focus on it enough. But you can't just think about, I'm going to manifest this stuff. Do the work. hard work, uncertainty, and pain. The harder you work, the luckier you get.